In Lincoln, Illinois, your next open line Friday. Great to have you. How are you doing?
Fine, only it's Pekin, Illinois.
Aiken, did you say?
Pekin, P-E-K-I-N. It's near Peoria.
Pekin. Okay. I'm sorry. It says Lincoln up there.
Unfortunately, we have Little Dicky as our senator.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I agree with you.
I understand why they named him his first name.
All right.
Because he is one. Anyway, I have two questions. If you have time, I have the question I originally called in for, and I also have an iPhone question.
All right.
My original question that I told Mr. Snerdley is, and I've heard you say this over the years, that there are liberals out there, like 10 people, who use algorithms to make themselves look like thousands of people making anti-Trump and anti-GOP comments on chat sites and Twitters and other comments. And you say that you've researched and you know who these people are.
I know who the 10 are who were trying to destroy me. I don't. Well, there are many more than just the 10 trying to. We just exposed the 10 trying to destroy me, but the whole Twitter all of Twitter, practically all of Twitter is aligned against Trump and aligned against conservatives, whether they're using bots or not.
Yeah. Well,
what was your question? What was your question going to be about that?
Well, my question is, if you know who these, the people are that were, outing you, why don't you list their names on your website?
Well, we did out them to them, and we did out them to the people that they were trying to defraud and lie to. That was our.
Why not out them to the public?
Well, because they could become more famous that way. They'd become really appreciated and loved by fellow Rush haters. We don't want to give them any fame. We wanted to stop them. Now, hang on. I got to go. Don't hang up. We'll get David's iPhone question when we get back here at the top of the hour, and whatever question, comments you have. We'll get to those two at 800-282-2882, because that's what Open Line Friday is. Whatever you want to weigh in on or ask about, have at it. Let me go back to David here in Lincoln/Pekin, Illinois. What was your iPhone question, my buddy?
Well, about a year ago, I got drug into the wonderful world of iPhones. Wait a minute. Nobody gets drug into... Well, I had a flip phone, and I was under the impression that was all I needed. I am a believer now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, well, my daughter had an iPhone 6, and she was trying to upgrade it, and they wouldn't do it because it had a little crack in the corner of the screen.
Who wouldn't do it?
So I went ahead and bought her a new iPhone 7 for Christmas, I inherited her iPhone 6.
Way to go.
Which I'm using now. But then I hear this news about how they're slowing them down based upon battery or something.
Oh.
And my question is, does their software interrogate my phone to see if it actually needs a new battery and slow it down then? Or is it just blanketly slowing down iPhone 6 and older?
No, okay, this is actually a good question. Let me explain this to you. The operating system is examining the strength and the age of each individual battery. It's not something that they have blanketly written code for, that if a battery in an iPhone 6 reaches a certain day, that they're gonna institute the system slowdown. It's based on the number of charge cycles on that battery combined with how old the battery is, and it's individual to each device. And I have to be on Apple's side in this. The liberal tech media loves to destroy Apple like they love to destroy Trump and the Republicans. Here's the truth of this. Battery technology has peaked. Lithium-ion battery technology has peaked. It's the one piece of tech in a phone that is maxed out. We cannot improve it beyond what it is because of the chemistry of the ingredients of lithium-ion batteries. The only way to make them better is to find out how to make a new kind of battery that doesn't use these kinds of materials. And one of the characteristics is that as batteries charge, and as they are used, they get weaker and they lose their capacity. And after when you get into the 2-year period, if you've used the phone normally, in that 2-year period, the battery is going to get sufficiently weak that when the processor puts certain kinds of demands on the battery, it will shut down rather than blow up, rather than be damaged. So what Apple has done is written code that examines each battery. It knows if you're using an iPhone 6 or a 6S or a 7. It knows that. But what it knows is how many charge cycles are on that battery, and it knows the relative strength of that battery. You can get an app now that'll tell you all this. You can buy, I forget the name of the app, but you can actually get an app that will tell you all of this data about your battery. Apple's now going to be building that in to the OS, and they're going to the beta of that's coming next week. I think the version that will have all of this information in it that you will then be able to see for yourself will be out in March. Now, what they do when they detect the battery is on the verge here of reaching a point where it will shut down because of the load the processor puts on it. Say when you turn it on, or say when you want to run a website, there are various different processes on a phone that use more electricity, more power to battery than others. And Apple doesn't want the phone shutting down on you. That's the worst thing, that you're in the middle of doing something, you're listening to a song, or you're composing an email to somebody, bam-o, it shuts down. The worst thing can happen. So they have purposely slowed down the processor so that those giant spikes, loads put on the processor, are reduced so that the battery doesn't shut down. They've decided that as far as customer usage is concerned, it's much better for the phone to keep operating than to be repeatedly shutting down on you in the middle of things that you're doing. There's nothing deceptive about it. They just didn't explain this like I just did. But that's all this is. And now to make even, they're replacing these batteries for $29.
Yeah, I saw that. They also said that if you have any crack on your screen, though, you got to get that fixed first.
I don't know about that, but that's a screen replacement.
It would interfere with the.
What do they want to charge you for that? A couple $100?
I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't got that far in my research.
Well, you're using a 6? Do you like it?
Yeah, it does what it lets me listen to the podcast when I work out at the gym in the morning.
You're using your iPhone to listen to the Rush Limbaugh podcast?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, why else would one
see, you don't want it shutting down on you during that.
No.
Are you having trouble with it? Is it shutting down on you at times, or are you having no problems with it?
Some days it'll last, like the battery will go into the evening. Other days I'll be at the gym and look down, and I had 100% when I left the house. It says 27.
But, let me tell you something. Here, let me give you a little hint. Battery usage is actually, it's specific to every phone, and it's why it's so difficult for any company like Apple or Samsung to publish accurate battery life estimates, because everybody's different, and nobody uses their phones the same way, and nobody has the same apps on their phones. And you could have, on those days where you leave the house at 100%, you get to the gym and it's down to 50, you've obviously got a runaway app process that hasn't stopped, and there's no way of knowing what it is. So the first thing to do when you notice that your battery is depleting faster than normal, shut it down. Just restart it. Kill whatever process is causing it. Do not assume that you can't do anything about it, because I do this all the time. I have to sometimes shut and restart my phones 2 or 3 times. I have a circumstance. I'll just tell you a little story. In my library, there's a process going on in there where one of my iPads is causing battery churn on every iPhone. In other words, if you look to the battery settings, you'll find standby and usage, and that's how you determine how your battery's performing. You want standby to be much larger than usage. Well, on my phones, they're equal. That means the battery is being churned like crazy. And what it is my iPad is not disconnecting from a Wi-Fi station on my way to the library. I have a number of Wi-Fi stations in my house. I go in the door, I go into the library, but there are 2 base stations before I get there. The iPad is connecting to one of them and not letting go, and it's very far away, and it's causing sync problems with the other devices on iCloud. So I have to turn that iPad off, or at least turn it off Wi-Fi, and then my iPhone batteries are back to normal. Now, it took me a month to figure this out, and most people are not going to spend that kind of time. But, I'm a fanboy. I love this stuff. I'm an idiot. I don't need a new iPad. I erased my iPad and I restored to it. I fixed it that way. But it took me a month to track this down, is my point. Most people are not going to spend that kind of time. In the process, I have learned if you've got a runaway battery, just shut the phone down and restart it. Shut it down and plug it back in for 5 or 10 minutes if you can, if you're someplace. Don't just sit there and let it deplete, because that's not normal. And it's not designed that way. And it means there's something you'll probably never track down causing it, and it's random. Just restart the phone, and I guarantee you it'll stop that kind of battery churn.
Well, I'll give that a try. I know I have one app that my AAA insurance company gives me to. If I have that on, then they give me better rates, but it sucks battery.
Yeah, so does Facebook. So does the Facebook app is one of the worst. I don't know if you use that, but the Facebook app.
I don't do Facebook.
All right, fine. Good. Well, then turn the AAA thing off when you're not using it.
Yeah. It gets involved, but yes.
These things are not complicated. The problem with modern tech is they are capable of so much more than anybody ever tells you. There's no manual. There's no one clearinghouse place that you as a customer can go to find out everything your phone can do. There's not one place you can go to identify every problem you're having where somebody's had it and has a solution. Well, I do that. I go to every different source I know every time I encounter a problem, trying to track it down. I'm very sensitive to battery churn. Right now, I have a phone right now. I use one phone to test this. In my library, I have one phone I never use, but it's on. And right now, the standby number is at 58 hours, and the usage is 3 hours. That is excellent. And my battery is at 60%. So I know everything's okay in my library. Now, my staff is laughing at me like they can't believe this. Well, do I want to test my phone? I have a phone that has done nothing since I had that problem in the library. Since I had that massive churn, yes, I've got a phone that does nothing but tell me whether or not things are working in my, the iCloud and the Wi-Fi base stations. I know one phone to tell me whether there's churn in the room or not. What tech question do you have? That doesn't mean anything. Your Apple base station won't stop blinking yellow. I had one that stopped that was blinking yellow. It didn't matter. Reboot it, and it's still blinking yellow. Is your Wi-Fi not working in the room? Okay, you're fine. Don't sweat it. The yellow doesn't. It's not panic time. Green would be better, but it doesn't mean that your house is going to catch fire and the insurance won't pay off or any of that. You're in good shape. See, this is the thing. I've experienced that too. I know what it means, and it's not a crisis. You're fine. If you want to get a new one, go ahead. But Apple's getting out of the router business anyway. These base stations are the last ones that they're going to make. They may upgrade the firmware for them now and then, but so anyway, if your iPhone 6 is running fine, then you're in good shape until it, and you'll know when the battery starts to. Your first shutdown. But you're eligible now, so you may as well go get in line for a new battery, and I guarantee you it'll make that iPhone 6 like brand new. As old as it is, it'll make that phone brand new. That's how important power is in making a phone and the processor run at its maximum capability. Let me take a break. We'll do that. We'll come back with more after this. Don't go away. I tell you what I just did. I just sent a screenshot of what I was just talking about up to Coco at the website, and he's going to post it. It's a screenshot. I took it at 1:34 this morning on my test iPhone in the library, and it shows 50 hours and 21 minutes of standby and 4 hours, 33 minutes of usage. That is just awesome. You can't get better battery efficiency, which means I've got no problems in my library. There's nothing in there causing battery churn and nothing on this phone. And I've got 70% of the battery remaining after nearly 2.5 days. Now, the phone's been doing nothing. That's its purpose. That's its test. But that's the best way I know to measure overall battery strength, battery usage, and whether or not the system is working properly. So he's going to post that screenshot up there for you to see, and it's a great way to check, how your battery and your phone's doing, and whether. Now, to get an accurate measure, you have to be able to set it aside for a period of time and not use it. And there's a little bit more to this in terms of setting this up. Like, for example, a full charge is required to reset both standby and usage to 0. Now, the full charge, the phone considers 90% to be full charge. So you have to charge the phone to minimum 90% to zero out that standby and usage scale. And that putting them both at 0 is the best way to measure.